Hello and welcome back to Logan Sounds Off. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about a pretty exciting new album coming from just a really great Irish band called Lazarus. And you might know them from many different places, obviously streaming services, but also they've been played before on RT Radio 1 on the John Creedon show, and we'll get to that in a sec because there's something very interesting on the record. But they've been played all over the place. They're highly acclaimed at the moment and they're doing very well on the scene, and it's great to see because they're a fantastic band. Really, really cool. This album, No Flowers Grow in Cement Gardens, is going to be released by Bohemia Records, and this is actually the first, not everybody has gotten this copy. It's being released soon, I believe the 5th of July, but it's going to be coming out soon, or if you're watching this past, there'll be links to where you can find it, where you can find the Bandcamp page and everything, so you can purchase it. It's very lovely artwork, especially, first off, I really love the artwork of this, really kind of rustic. I love the marks, kind of the different textures of the materials used, the coins as well. I love the St. Bridget's cross on it. I think that's really, really lovely, and just it's kind of a provocative cover. It's very interesting. And then obviously on the back, you've got a really cool cover as well. This is your track list. This is what we'll be discussing today. These are your credits, and obviously you've got all your other credits there as well. And it thanks a lot of people on this record, a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. Some people who I would know as well, which is really, really cool. So getting back to what I was saying earlier, was that John Creedon is actually thanked on this. So I'm just gonna, if you look really closely, second line left is John Creedon's name, which is really, really cool. And also here is a place called Ballyteague, and this is only a couple of miles from my town actually, so that was really cool to see. And I actually got this on splatter vinyl off Gilded ALM, and I just want to thank Gilded ALM so much for this album. It's really, really cool, and I have known of Lazarus before I got this record, and I was looking forward to this being released, so it was really cool to hear it before it actually came out, so I'm getting the inside scoop, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts with you. Some of the songs are available to stream already, such as some of the singles, so make sure to check those out if you are listening to this before it has been released. So yeah, let's get into it. So again, great artwork, but what's on the inside, what's in the record is what I'm going to delve into, starting off with Black Mariah. The first song on this album, first song on the side, very powerful, very just loud. It feels very dark though. It does feel like a very grim and gritty song, which is really, really cool. It feels kind of ambient at the start. It doesn't feel like that's part of the song. It's more of an introduction, and then that fades out, and then you have a little silent spot before Black Mariah really kicks in. I'm not sure if that was kind of like a hidden introduction track. Whatever it was really creative, really cool. I thought it introduced the album very well, and I really, really liked that. Listening back to the album over and over again, it was really cool. It starts off the album with a really intense sound, which is kind of cool, and also really spontaneous, because the rest of the album there are some very intense songs, and then there are some very relaxed songs, and then there are some very upbeat songs. So really this album delves into completely different tones without even a crossfade. I mean, this just goes from song to song in a really good way. It goes from tone to tone. It really throws you about the place. It's a very spontaneous record, and I think that's really cool, and at the same time all the tracks blend in perfectly together. So I think that's really cool, and it's hard to do. So I just want to take a moment to really just say a Lazarus Soul. That's quite cool to go through so many different types of music and just put it into one album. And this album is really good for that reason. You get tons of different aspects and different tones and sounds and nearly different just ways of listening to music throughout the album. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. So I just wanted to say something about that as well. And then you have next The Flower I Flung into Her Grave. And this is a very raw song, like really raw. And it actually, for kind of a dark title, like it's a bit sad. This is actually kind of upbeat. It's super bright, really, really nice sounding. I love the production on this track. And it would actually be one of my favourite songs on the album. I know Side A is my personal favourite for this record, but I do have to say that this particular song is fantastic. I really, really like this. I'm not sure would it be my favourite, but I do like it. So The Flower I Flung into Her Grave, is a pretty cool song. It's different to Black Mariah, but it still packs a punch in the same way as the track, which is kind of cool. So I found that really interesting to be listening to, and I think the whole album really hits you emotionally a lot on some tracks, but at an equal level for different tones, which is quite interesting. And I've never experienced that with a record before, so it's quite talented there, Lazarus Soul. Well done. And then you have The Dealers, and this is a really soft, and in the beginning you think, oh, it's kind of an acoustic, nearly song, might be a bit emotional, a bit of storytelling, but it actually becomes something completely else. The song takes a form of its own. Throughout the track, it starts to spread out a lot. A lot more instruments are introduced slowly but surely. It just sounds really vast and just it's a beautiful track. The Dealers is just like The Flower I Flung into Her Grave. Quite an emotional song, but still just really interesting. I really like it. But I'm not sure. I'd say this, it makes side B really hard to compete with. But it makes side B really, really kind of like, you hope it's going to be the same. And it does really, really impress. But I just love that particular song. And then you have G.I.M., sorry, not am. And I have to say, this is much more intense and fast paced and just true rock song, this song. And it's really cool, but also it's lyrically very interesting. It's very much story. It's very well sung, really, really well done, and a personal favourite. I do like G.I.M. a lot. I think when I first listened to the record, it was definitely one that peaked out to me, and I really just enjoyed listening to. So I will say I do love that particular track, and I would recommend G.I.M. as a good song to start off with the Lazarus Soul, just because you get so many different sounds throughout that song that represent a Lazarus Soul perfectly. So I will say that particular song is really good for multiple different reasons. It's just a fantastic song. And then you have New Jewels, and I haven't actually spoke much about the guitars in this, and I play guitar, as you might see there. My electric is not there at the moment. My electric guitar, I was playing that a couple of minutes ago, but I do play guitar, and the bass behind my acoustic guitar, my electric guitar, is my dad's, so I've messed around with that a bit as well. But the guitars on this are really, really brilliant, and I just want to say that the guitars on New Jewels are fantastic. And I really like this song because it is like a cool down kind of from G.I.M., which is like, it's just really, really like a just heavy rock. So to come down to like New Jewels, it's brilliant. And then you have side B, which is fantastic. I just like a lot of the songs on side A. I'd say after listening to this album, though, I'll flick from like which one do I prefer just after listening to different parts of different songs. I think side B has a lot of things that side A doesn't, though. Not in a bad way. I just think it's a completely different set of 5 songs, and I really, really like that you get nearly just the 2 sides. You don't just get one album, you get kind of 2 sides to the album, and I really enjoy that. And then you have Wildflowers, and this starts off side B perfectly, as it's really fast paced and sharp and energetic. And I like those kind of tracks. Really sharp, there's a sharp sound to them. But I'm not sure is it one of my favourites. I do like the song, but it's a brilliant track though. I strongly recommend it. Then you have Diver Walsh, and I love this song as it's really soft, gentle, and a very well written track. And I do have to say that about some of these songs, they're very well written and just a great tone. Diver Walsh has a really lovely tone. And then you have Glass Swans, and this song has a certain shine to it. And I like that. I love the kind of sound that Glass Swans has. And I just want to just touch on how creatively interesting this title is. And throughout this whole album, like they've had some really good titles. This album, No Flowers Grow in Cement Gardens, that is genius. Like, that is such a cool title. I just wish they kind of had it on the album cover so that more people could see it and go, I need this when they pick it up in a record shop. But look, it's still a beautiful album cover. But moving on from that, its chorus shimmers, and I love that kind of tone that you can use for music. The music shimmers, and I think it's nearly a texture that you could use for music. That some music shimmers, so just that's kind of cool to mention, and it just makes this song beautiful. That kind of shimmery sound effect, really really cool. But yeah, I like Glass Swans, and it's one of the cooler songs in the album. And then you have Factory Fada, and that means long factory. For anybody who doesn't speak Irish. Now, I don't speak very good Irish at all, but I do know fada means long, so long factory. And this track has a fantastic guitar on it. And so for anybody who is a guitarist and is happy with my points on the guitar, great. But I know there's a couple of people who play bass guitar out there who are just stunned that I'm not mentioning it at all, but I'm going to get to that towards my final thoughts on the album, because I do have some very strong thoughts about the bass playing in this album, so I'll get to that soon, don't worry about it. But just at the moment, the guitar and the very sad lyrics. This song has really really sad lyrics, and I find this album can have some very sad lyrics, but also some really upbeat and really intense songs as well. Like, I feel like GIM could be in a movie. But yeah, I love the Factory Fada song. But an incredible song. Like, the definitely with some songs they're so sad that it kind of overshadows the lyrical content, overshowers the musical content, which I find can be really good for some songs. But a lot of emotional songs are really good because of their emotion and their raw truth. And I think that's really important to have, especially with songwriting today. I think we need to preserve that really emotional, raw, organic place where lyrics come from. But as well, I don't like songs where the emotional aspect overpowers the music aspect, and instead of it being a song, it just becomes a very emotional track. So I will say this perfectly balances the two, with both a very emotional and well written lyrical content. It also has really good musical content. So another thing that a Lazarus Soul did perfectly on this particular song. So well done to them for that. And then it has the last song, and I love when bands do this, when they don't call it a title track, but they'll call it something related to the title track, such as Tom Waits. He had an album called Nighthawks the Diner, and he was playing live on that particular record, and I've done an album review on it. You can check that out in the description below. I hope you enjoy that. Fantastic album, one of my favourite albums ever. But one of the tracks on it is called Nighthawk Postcards from Easy Street, and I think that's kind of cool that Tom didn't want to name it Nighthawks the Diner, and it's actually mentioned in another song, but you'll hear that in the album review. Make sure to check that out after you finish this particular one. But they call this song No Flowers, and it's not like they do say no flowers in cement gardens. They don't say no flowers, and they repeat this in a really cool melodic fashion. And this is an awesome song that's ambient, layered, and a great song to finish this album. So my final thoughts. A Lazarus Soul, I don't know much of their stuff, but I would know some of their more popular songs, such as Long Balconies and things like that. But No Flowers Grow in Cement Gardens. In this day and age, this is a perfect record, and I'm so proud that this is coming out of Ireland, and just a fantastic album it is. I think more people should hear about A Lazarus Soul and how fantastic of a band they are. They're just incredible, and obviously, as usual, links to their website and all their information that I can find anyways will be on my website, logansoundsoff.com, or the YouTube description or the Spotify description as well. You can check those out if you want to learn more about the band, and I would strongly advise you to do so. They are an incredible group of musicians, and I would like to shout them out for that. We have Anton Hegarty, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Bienvenu, I'm not sure, Joe Chester, and Brian E. Brannigan as well. And then we also have Steve Wickham as Tier Brannigan, and Lee Scratch Perry also working on this album, with Lee Scratch Perry doing the transmission from Paradise on track 10. So that would be No Flowers. So overall, this album is fantastic. Production wise, it's really, really cool. Artistically and creatively, it's inspiring and a true masterpiece. And as well, just the way it's presented, obviously it's on a splatter vinyl, and I really like that touch, that it just adds a whole new aspect to the album. And as a music fanatic like me, and a really, really, really interested record collector in music, I love seeing this splatter vinyl. And as somebody who's into art, I really like seeing some of the stuff that's in this, even just the liner notes. I just think this is really cool, because if you actually take out the vinyl, if you take out the record and you look at it from the side and you open it up slightly, you can see that it kind of connects, if you see the art. But I think that's just fantastic, and it's really cool to see something as cool as that on an album. So I think there was a lot of work put into this album, and it really paid off. I think anyone who will hear this album will truly understand how good of an album it is. I don't really have many critiques. I think there's unique parts of it that I just not really sure about, but that kind of makes the album. But it is a very good album. I would strongly recommend it. Make sure to check it out in the links below. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you to A Lazarus Soul for putting out this record. Bye guys.